Hello, good people. Today I want to talk about hiring salespeople and how sales ops can help with that. This is the sales ops effect, where we strengthen our skills as strategic leaders to grow businesses with integrity. It technically doesn't come underneath our remit, but as you know, we talk about people who are working in sales ops solo or with a very small team, inside of a very small team, often with a very large ratio of salespeople to sales ops people in growing businesses, right? And with a business that is growing, with a business that is scaling up, we can't presume that everything's just going to go okay. It's still a relatively young business. It's a teenage business. People are figuring things out no matter what level that they are in. Like, I really need us all to remember that, because it's easy to think that, oh, somebody is the head of business development, they're the head of account management, they are the SVP, and so therefore they know everything, right? That isn't always true. Everybody needs reminding. It's just why it's like the same reason why everybody needs a coach sometimes, right? So when it comes to hiring, you would think, oh, okay, so we need to hire now. And so the sales manager is going to deal with that. And as I said, as you know how many sales managers you've got in your business. It might not just be the head of sales. It could be the head of sales and they've got a few people reporting to them who are your direct peers, right? So they're going to be dealing with it. But do you want them to deal with it entirely on their own? There's a few things that you might want to think about. And the first one I would say is the personality of the person that is hiring. How are they currently managing their team? What are the difficulties or barriers that you have with working with that person? Because I can guarantee you, if you have difficulties with that person, they are probably going to hire someone that is like them, which means you will continue to have difficulties with the next person that's coming in. Right? And even if this person is perfect, you should still, for the second reason, want to be involved in the process to some degree, just to make sure it's rounded. Because again, for the right reasons, a salesperson, a sales manager will be thinking about very specific things. They're not going to be thinking about the whole system the vast majority of the time. And also, you have to remember, as I said, sometimes, people need to grow. That might be the first time that this person is interviewing people. They might not know what to do. So I'm not saying you're going to have to go and teach them interview skills. That's HR can help them with that. But you're going to want to look at the job description before it goes out. In some cases, you might have been the person to write it in the first place, but you're going to want to see it. Look for what is being highlighted and look for what is missing, because that will tell you if the sales manager has actually written it themselves. That will tell you the kind of person that they're looking for. And you, being somebody who works in sales ops, you've got your eye on the rounded picture, the rounded salesperson. You know in your mind the idea of the ideal salesperson that you would like in that company. And no one is perfect, but you'll be able to see the parts that are missing. For example, if you've got someone who is looking to hire, if you've got a sales manager who's looking to hire someone and you're looking at this CV because you managed to get your hands on it, and it's someone who has been very senior for a long time, will that person fit for the role that is actually being advertised? The realistic results of having someone who's used to being at a very high level, if they are now joining your growing company, your company that's scaling up, and they have to do more of their own admin than they are used to doing, you want to know that that's being mentioned somewhere during the interview process. Now, if we're talking like 2 or 3 interviews, it should have been mentioned. But if you're not involved in the interview process, the chances are it's not come up, because all the sales manager is going to be thinking about, if they're hiring somebody like that for effectively what is a general standard role, is, can you go out and hunt? Can you go out and make sure you're closing deals, et cetera, et cetera? They're not looking at the rounded salesperson. How well can you communicate with people internally? Because some people are so very focused on the outside that they think that everything that goes on the inside doesn't mean anything. And you can't be having that, because if you have somebody coming in and they do that, it's going to cause you trouble, and it's going to make everybody else feel like, well, how comes they're able to get away with just not showing up to meetings with the delivery team and no one's pulling them up on it? Like, it can cause so much trouble. So if you can, do get your hands on the job description, do get your hands on the CVs of the people that are being interviewed. And ideally, even if it's at the last stage, try to see if you can be in the interview to ask some culture fit questions. How are you at technology? What CRM systems have you used in the past? You know, how do you speak to people in marketing? What kinds of questions do you have for them? What about delivery? What about finance? You know, can you describe a time when there were issues internally with one of your accounts and how it got dealt with? Like, so that you can see how they manage situations like that. Because I'm not saying you definitely want to rule these people out if they do have gaps, but if you know from the interview stage where their gaps are, then you can assist the sales manager in filling in those gaps, making sure that they have the training in specific areas from day one, so that we don't fall into a hole in the future. And so I do think it helps. It might seem like, oh, that's another thing I've got to think about, but genuinely, look at your sales team. There's I don't know anyone who's got a full sales team and they're looking thinking, oh yeah, all of you are perfect. And again, perfect is not the aim, because we're humans, and so there is no such thing as perfect. But you know what I mean? There's people who cause more harm than they're actually worth. People for whom they cause all of these issues, and the amount of time that is spent running after this one person, running after this person all the time, chasing after them. Have you sent this? Have you sent that? Oh, yeah, I will in a minute. And it just never happens. No one can get a hold of this person. You know that person, right? So actively hiring in another one like that. So save yourself the time, save the sales manager the time, because also as well, and I'll talk about this in the next episode, it's much more difficult to fire people than people think it is. So clearly there are some companies that are very cutthroat about these things, but there are so many people who, this is the first time that they're managing teams. They don't really have those managerial skills. And so therefore they don't even know how to advise them on how to do better. And then things can go on for so long that, you know, it's time to fire and you don't even know how to do it. So that's what I'll talk about in the next episode. But really, you want to get there. You want to be in the room when new people are coming on board, just to make sure that we've got some people that are rounded, or for you to get a head start on knowing how you can help them, because you don't want super spiky people coming in and actively messing things up for everybody, like recreating documents left, right, and center. If that's who they are, you want to know that. You don't want a problem to just be coming over the hill. So I hope that helps. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've had any difficulties in the past or how it went when you were a part of the interview process. And I will speak to you soon about what happens when we have to fire people.